Two notes before we start the show today. The first is a reminder that we have a listener survey for 2025. We love hearing from all of you. We love reading your responses, and we actually really benefit from that information if we ever have advertisers, anything like that. So we do appreciate it. You can also win a jumper list board. We are drawing 3 names, and we will ship that to you from past guest Kevin Capuccio. Thank you to him. Second is, we're not the most timely editors here, mostly me, and this was recorded about 10 days before airing, so there's some changing information as things have been changing a lot lately. So just keep that in mind as you're listening. This is the Amp Hour Podcast, released May 21st, 2025. Episode 694. Voltage, Vibes, and VOCs.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
I'm freshly back from Melbourne. I ventured out of my lab.
Yeah. Yes. How is the wider world? Is it still out there?
It's still out there. I did actually survive the streets of I survived the streets of Melbourne. Very
All right.
Very
Great.
surprising. It's like going
all that wonderful graffiti. And,
oh yes,
Melbourne is like the most
laneways,
chill. It's such a chill city. I'm sure you're talking about some kind of local thing, but I had a very good time there.
We've got like a crime thing there at the moment that's going on.
Yeah.
It's making all the news, so, you know.
Dave, I live in the U.S.
Oh, right. Yes, I know. Okay.
I'm from the mean streets of the South Loop of Chicago.
It's a wonder you survived it all.
I know.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I didn't go outside either. So, I mean, as it was. Well, that's great. How was the show? I saw our two-time guest Scott Williams posting.
Yes, Scott Williams. Yes, I did a talk with him about his. So he goes through a product that he developed with someone over 2 years. So we talk about that. That'll be a separate video. And he mentioned that he's using your his team is using your software now.
That's right. Yeah, he's a Goliath partner.
Yes, he's a Goliath partner. There you go.
Yeah.
Is he actually plastered all over your website or something? Is he as a Goliath partner?
I mean, not all over, but yeah, he's on there. Yeah.
Oh, he's on there. Okay, cool.
Mostly, I just get to talk to him every quarter. That's the nice thing. He's like excuses to get together and chat. That's nice.
Yeah, because I was talking to him about that, and he said, for those who don't know, you can watch his episode on the Amp. He's been on twice, actually. It's been on the Amp Hour twice.
Yep.
Yes,
once with Dave, once for me.
Yes, and he basically runs a design consultancy business, which is getting quite sizable now. He's got like 10 employees or something, right? So a design services company, and the choice is when you're a design house like that, and he does like turnkey solutions as well. For those who don't know what turnkey is, it means basically you do the whole job from from concept through to production and even marketing. You help out the whole way. So some customer comes to you, I've got this idea for this farting novelty widget thing. It's going to make $1 billion, and you go, great, we can design that for you, and you spend a year or two with them, and you handhold their way all the way through, and you design everything. You do the whole.
I think the alternative there is the services only, right? So like there's some other service partners who are like, oh, you need just firmware. We'll come in and be your firmware team.
You need just PCB layout. You need just 3D, housing, CAD type stuff.
I feel like it depends on which type of customer you're talking to as well.
Yes.
Like if you're talking to like a mechanical group who needs electronics, it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do everything on the electronic side. But if you're like talking to an electronics group and they're just like short-staffed on PCBs or whatever, you're like, okay, we're gonna just
do some PCBs. If you're a large company, you just may be short-staffed at the moment and you need someone to lay out some boards or do some design check-in or something like that, simulation or anything like that. So turnkey just means doing the whole lot. So
was there a lot of service providers like that at electronics?
There were quite probably 4, I think at least that I saw there were quite a lot, which
Okay,
at a small show like that is a
I was
lot.
going to say, I thought that was going to be a much bigger number, but yes, you're right. Yeah,
No,
scale-wise, I
it's-
see.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's no, but that's a lot for a small one-room show,
right.
you know, where there's 30
Yeah,
or 50 exhibitors or something, you know.
Yeah.
So like to have 4 or 5 or half a dozen of those be in design consultancy. Actually, there was probably more than that, but it depends on what you're talking about in the design space. I talked to another stand that just they do specialised in space. Space design. So they design the flight controller computer for these rockets that these space rockets went up to 400 kilometers or something and came back down at terminal velocity. And for some reason, I don't know, I can't remember, but yeah, they
that's called a
specialize
missile.
in the design of those. It's called a missile. Yeah, well, it was a research rocket or something, research stuff. So they've been doing that for 30 years. They kind of like specialize in that, but you wouldn't know it from their name or from their other stuff. It was just, you go there and you start talking to him and look at this thing we have in our cabinet here. This is a flight control computer from this rocket that went up and came back at terminal velocity and survived.
That's cool.
And, yeah. So there's lots of specialist
It's always interesting
ones.
too with like service providers like that too, because it's like, do you go to an electronics show like you're talking about? It's like focused on the people that are working on electronics, or if you're someone like Scott or similar like turnkey service provider, do you go to where your customers might be at I'm just going to like a medical expo, and then you're like the electronics person, like, hey, you're a doctor looking to develop a thing. We can do all of that for you.
We can do all those things. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And then you hit every type of show, whatever your vertical is.
You're a show whore. Yes, you just go around and go to every single every single show and spruik your services. Yeah, because you don't know where it's going to come from,
That's
so,
right.
a farm show, like a farm expo, farmers need custom solutions for stuff,
Oh, man, farmers.
So, like...
Farmers are rough clients. I don't know if you know this. Yeah. No,
it doesn't surprise me.
They are very cost constrained. They have ridiculously difficult like environmental stuff, right? Like just sun, rain, and all that stuff. And then they are unforgiving on anything that doesn't work, right? I mean, as they should be, right? But
of course.
they're just so practical and they're so like, this needs to work every single time. If there's any downtime, I will rip it out and I will replace it with whatever I need to. And immediately, it's like, wow, okay, I get it. All right. And you don't want to pay much for that either, huh? So, okay.
No. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what dwarfed the electronics show, the one next door, the Australian Manufacturing Week, I just released
I was watching
a video
your
this morning. Yeah, because I haven't released a
we'll
video on the electronics show. I went there just for the electronics show, which I go to every year. And no, next door was Australian Manufacturing Week, and like I was standing out the front, like I got there to the big exhibition, Melbourne exhibition, centre building. It's huge, right? And I got there right at opening time. I was setting up my camera outside so I could do my talking head shot walking in and stuff like that. And there's like thousands of people walking in, and I'm going, what the hell is going on here? Like, these can't all be going to electronics. And sure enough, when I go inside, it's absolutely packed. You couldn't move in this giant convention center, like outside. This is just in the corridor to get in. And there's and then there's a line, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people deep, trying to get into this Australian Manufacturing Week. And I asked around, and people have said, oh yeah, it's packed every day. It's 40 minutes to line up to get your pass to get in.
Wow.
It's nuts. Oh my God, it was packed. Anyway, there was this thing, Australian Manufacturing Week, order of magnitude bigger in terms of space and number of stands and everything else than the poor little electronics show next door, right? So
so I define the manufacturing of it too, because I mean it's not like electronics manufacturing, right?
It's not like what?
Is it electronics manufacturing? Is it mechanical?
No,
is it something
it's
else?
manufacturing,
it's
as in
things.
Mostly mechanical manufacturing.
Oh, okay.
So there's laser cutters, there's sheet metal benders, there's and giant scale. Like I'm talking, huge giant scale, automated welding machines and, all sorts of things. It's big giant machines that can cut 10 meters by 10 meter, 100 millimeter steel thick, bloody like slabs of metal. Just incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I love shows like this. This is like the one that I went to. IMTS is the show in Chicago every 2 years, 4 years. Yeah, it's like this where they just fill up the Chicago Expo Center with just like 3-story tall like machining centers.
Yes.
It's just like
Unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. I hate to say it, it was more exciting than the electronics show, which is the same every year.
Of course it is.
It's the same exhibitors.
No. I think, No, I don't think it's even that. I don't think it's like you're like normalized to it. I think it's just the demos are cooler. Like
the
robots
demos
are
way cooler
than tiny electrons moving. Like electrons moving, LEDs lighting up. It's just like harder to make it demonstrably fun, and I don't know.
Exactly.
Like we're interested in it, of course. But like
someone's bending this giant 10-meter long piece of steel. It's like, hello.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It's mad. These huge water jet cutters just blasting through 50 millimeters of steel,
Right. I mean, just like if you had a Tesla coil is more interesting than a microcontroller for the same reason, right? It's just doing things in the physical world.
Demo board sitting on your stand, and it's like flashing some LEDs.
Look,
but
look
it's
how
doing
little
really
power
cool
this
stuff.
is taking.
I know. Look at how much power. Oh, look, and the complicated real-time OS we're using with, and it's like,
exactly.
A yawn. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it just is.
I know.
It's
hard.
The way the cookie crumbles, man.
Yep. It's hard to get flashy electronic. We've talked about those in the past, designing trade show stands and stuff.
Right.
It's hard to sort of entice people to your stand, So
well, just think about the setup though too. Of like, I know like at IMTS, like they would come in like a week early, because they'd be setting up these machining centers.
Yeah.
And just the like the unionized dock workers that are like bringing in pallets and pallets to put all these things together. It's pandemonium, it's such an impressive logistical thing too.
I would love to have stuck around and actually see these, got there early and saw the setup and dismantling of it all. It's just incredible.
It's it's wild.
They have to drive trucks into the show so that, with giant cranes and lift them off these giant flatbed trucks and stuff like that. These machines weigh hundreds of tons. It's just totally crazy. Man,
it's
unbelievable.
I mean, that's the thing. It's just impressive.
I know.
So,
it was very impressive.
I don't know.
So
how do you fight that, Dave? I don't think. I think you chose the right one.
Anyway, I have done a walk around of both, so you can compare. I was more excited by the manufacturing week, and I was surprised at just the popularity of manufacturing here in Australia.
Yeah. So what do y'all make? What do y'all make there?
Well, we're one of the world's biggest steel producers, so there's tons of like big steel stuff. There's big cutters and benders for giant I-beams to build bridges and stuff like that.
That's true. That's
so
true. Y'all like your bridges.
Yeah. And so it's just like making, like I saw them live manufacturing like a big scoop for an excavator thing, like those big front the big front scoops that go on the front of bloody escalator.
They were making that live? Isn't that like made out of like really hardened steel?
They were making it, it was not the cast.
Poured.
Some of them are cast, but they were actually manufacturing these like custom shape ones. That, it's just it's nuts, man. Yeah. And roofing, they're manufacturing. They've got these big roller machines that can manufacture a roof in, and all sorts of
so
stuff
it's things
like that.
like finished goods that might be from raw materials, that like extrusions and things like it, right? Housing is obviously very expensive there, so like I'm sure there's a lot of money in that. So doing that closer might make more sense from raw stock.
And there was a stand that just had wheels for trolleys, right? They just had big trolley wheels, like all these selection of German-made trolley wheels or something. It's like okay. Cool. It's like, really nice wheels. Damn. Want me some of them.
Did we get into the wrong industry? Is that what?
No, I don't know, but it was more fun. It was more fun.
It was more novel at the very least, right?
Yeah, it's novel.
There's always that.
Yeah, so I think I'll go to that every year now. Australian manufacturing. But no, I just could not believe the volume of people that were going through. Like, this took, I think, 8 different like halls, like they had like 10 halls in the they took up 8 of the halls or something. It was just absolutely enormous. So the scale of it was enormous, but the number of people that were there. Wow. It was just, man, unbelievable. So, yeah.
I'd like to go to like a manufacturing style show like this in like Shenzhen or something too. That'd be interesting.
That'd be nuts.
Again, just like to see the scale difference, right? You know?
And then I came across like little small, Asian maker of these lathes, these little which I think you got once, didn't you? You got one of those small lathes.
I did a mill. I did a mill on a lathe.
Mill.
Yeah.
What's the difference between a mill and a lathe?
So a mill goes. It's like imagine like a subtractive 3D printer, right? Where you have a spinning bit.
You have a block.
Like
yes,
mill.
you actually start with a block.
And then you basically carve off from that.
Right.
A lathe is like you're spinning around a
spinning thing.
spindle axis, right?
Yep.
And then you're using a cutter to modify. There are combos as well, right? So like the larger machining centers will have them combined fourth axes and stuff like that. But
got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can laugh at my walk around as I get everything wrong, Like
a kid in a candy store.
Yeah. And I have
That's
no
good.
clue what I was talking about. So, people are just laughing their ass off, It's great.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I wanted to buy, I wanted to, I think it was...
See, doesn't seem as stupid now, does it?
$800.
Huh?
No, I wanted to buy this little mini desktop lathe. I thought, oh, geez,
I don't know.
Show special, $800.
Okay.
I'm like,
Name something that you would build with a lathe.
I don't know, but I'd like to have one.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. Actually, if you want to see,
I don't know. I can make knobs. I can make custom metal knobs.
There you go.
Or something.
Knobs would actually work. Yeah. Okay. There, you got one thing. Yeah.
Right.
I'd say watch. Colin Furs does a bunch with lathes.
Yes.
And,
he's great.
And Ben Krasnow as well. Those are both great start. We will find lathes often in there, and I'll be like, I never would have thought to make that. That is like the most common thing when I see like something spinning, and then I'm like, that's the first thought. And then the second thought is, I would totally chop a finger off. That's the other thing.
Yes.
Because I don't
Same.
I don't know how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. But there are people that do it well and successfully and safely. So I'm just good for them.
I really like the idea of like small desktop machines like that, It's kind of like, they can just sit in a corner for when I need it.
Oh, they would sit in a corner, that's for sure.
They would do splendidly at sitting in a corner.
They would do really well, yeah. I got this advice, I think from past guest Philip Fredine, about like machining and stuff like that. And I think it was him, or I'm sure a couple of people told me this, but it was like, send out for these parts you think you need, like over and over and over again. Like there's so many services these days that'll do this sort of thing, like send, cut, send, and just all of these like online services where you can just send in the design files and then they'll send you back a thing, and do that enough to the point where like you get to a machine, like even $800. Like I would be very hard pressed to get $800 worth of
value. Exactly.
Lathe.
No, you're better off sending
and it's just like, I don't, unless you're to the point where like, you actually need it the next day.
It's like a pick and place machine, It's
like a pick and place. It's exactly the same thing.
There's got to be some niche little window there where it's worth your time and money.
Right. Unless you're looking for a project, which then of course,
actually
$800
for a
is
hobby
fine
project.
to learn that sort of thing. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
You might need it for, like custom manufacturing once the world falls apart. That's great.
Right. Zombie apocalypse manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think what did I see the one time? Someone was doing they bolted like a tree stump that they were gonna like turn on a lathe. But they attached it to like the axle of a car. And so then they had like a brick
so
on
they
the
spin
accelerator.
the brick on the car, and then they just
it was
and then
really
they just spin
stupid.
it. Oh my god!
Yeah, it was
redneck
really
redneck
dumb.
machine.
Yeah, very redneck. Yes, very redneck. Yeah, I would not recommend. But you're end of the like that's like you said, zombie apocalypse. Like that's how you do it.
Yeah, totally. Tool prepping. Is that tool prepping?
I'm sure it would be. I mean, the preppers, at least in the States, are very gun nut.
Oh, yeah, gun, ammo, and food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but you can make, like you literally can use a lathe to make like barrels, right? Like that is another very good use.
Yeah,
very good. Good is probably a stretch, but a very common use case of a lathe would be to make a gun barrel. Like you literally can.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah. So like every time you see like a argument against like 3D printed guns, it's like $800 lathe, and you're probably going to have a much more reliable.
Oh yeah, totally.
Bang bang pew pew kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, but you can't
Anywho.
just actually download the file and hit a button,
You wouldn't download a gun. So the person who wrote the guide that got me into machining, the El Camtuf, he does like a bunch of electronics blog posts now. I think I mentioned it maybe one or two shows ago.
Okay.
I still highly recommend the. I'll link in the machining guide. I think it's still amazing. With the caveat, if you read it, you might want to buy a lathe or a mill rather,
Right.
which I would not recommend at this point at least in my life. But
I think you
great
sold
guide.
yours, didn't you? You sold it?
I traded it with my friend Marty, who was building. He was designing 3D printing kits, and so that was my first 3D printer.
Oh, right.
I traded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, you traded a mill for a more useful 3D printer.
I'm not sure if he ever kept it, but
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that kit is now in pieces, and I've since moved away from the DIY and into the it just works. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I'm in the it just needs to work campaign.
Yeah, exactly. For how often I print on it, it's the same kind of like thing pops up now. Like the I need a resin printer. No, you don't, Chris. Like send out for a single resin print before you say you need a resin printer. That's like the same test I need to do, and I just keep failing at it, Dave. So,
well, it's like for me, it's like I get these companies all the time. Look, we'll send you a 3D resin printer, and I'm going, what am I going to use it for?
Yeah,
it's like like even though I'm getting it for free,
Yeah, right, totally.
It's
like just going to take up room in your lab.
It's just going to take up room. Exactly.
Yeah. Again, things that we've said many times on the show before, like the hobby starts as 3D printing, but if it doesn't immediately become 3D modeling, basically it's like you're just printing trinkets, and like I feel like
exactly. You're printing Yoda heads.
You really got to just get into modeling first, and you can do that for free.
Yes.
FreeCAD 1.00 is much better than the earlier version, so not great, but it's getting better.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would you call it 1.00? Just on principle.
Because it's the first it's like standardizing the API. That's the reason.
I know, but nobody trusts 1.00 crap.
Oh yeah, you download 1.0.1.
Right.
Which comes out very shortly after, usually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, bug fixes.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, I am doing some lab environmental monitoring at the moment.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that before the show.
Yes.
So what was the prompting of this? Why did you start?
For some reason, like it was on the weekend. I had the in-laws over. My sister-in-law, who's a environmental, just like she's like an environmental air quality scientist, right? And anyway,
guru.
so I don't know. For some reason, I was showing her I've got an environmental monitor here in the lab, and it's hooked up to the net, and you can log in, and you can So I logged into it and showed her the graph of
Dave's got IoT.
CO2, formaldehyde. Hang on, and let me look at this. What have I got? I've got temperature, pressure, humidity, VOCs, noise, carbon dioxide, formaldehyde, PM 2.5. Particulate matter, so that's 2.5 micron particulate matter. Radiation, just in case, the nuclear apocalypse happens.
What kind of particles? Gamma? Beta? Alpha? Probably none of those. Gamma.
Yes, but one of them doesn't make it through the case. Is it the gamma? Doesn't make it through the case or whatever. I can never remember which of the two ones make it through the case.
So whatever. So you got a tube in there though. It's got like radiation.
There's a high voltage tube. It's currently running at 381 volts because there's a voltage graph
Kaiser
as well.
when we need him?
Yeah, exactly. And anyway, so and she's going, that formaldehyde. Wow, what's going on there? And it's like every time I open my door, there's a big formaldehyde spike, and it's actually it's actually green at the bottom, then it gets yellow, then it gets orange, and it gets red, and the spikes are way up in the red, and
that's
she's
how I learned that there was an embalming clinic down the hall.
Right. And these big formaldehyde, but they go down within 10 minutes or something. But every time I open the door, there's these giant formaldehyde spikes and stuff, and then my CO2's up in 800 parts per million or something like that. 900.
No. 800 ppm. No, is it ppm? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
ppm. Yeah. My carbon dioxide level. These humans that need to breathe. Pesky humans.
Yep.
So yeah,
Okay.
anyway, so my Dyson filter here actually has a formaldehyde filter in it. It actually gets rid of formaldehyde and stuff. So I thought I'd do some controlled tests. So I did a test all day. I was in the lab all day yesterday, and I didn't have the aircon on, and I didn't have my Dyson filter on. I've just got my other regular fanny filter just on low, which is doing enough all really. And yeah, so I got one graph of a day like that. So I was sitting here kind of uncomfortable because there was no sort of like fresh air and the aircon wasn't on, and you know, it was about 26 degrees or something, stale, you know. So, but anyway, I endured the day. So yeah, so today I'm doing aircon. So sorry if you hear any aircon switching off and on during this show. I normally turn the aircon off when I'm actually recording this and other videos, but no, I've got the aircon cycling at the moment. And yeah.
And what, do you have early numbers or like kind of relatives?
Oh,
like relative numbers?
I can take a screenshot and I can show. No, dude, look, I will give you this.
Send me a link.
I'll give you the link.
You get to see it live.
You get to see it live, dude. Here you go.
Man, I'm going to log into Australia.
There you go. And it's open to the public. It's open to the public.
So
I send it to you
IoT.
on Gmail.
Okay.
Or whatever the googly chat's called these days. What is the googly chat called these? It's just called chat.
Yeah, Google Chat. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're basically the only person I talk to on there anymore.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, you and my friend Sophie.
What do you use otherwise? What's your
a lot of Signal these days?
Oh, Signal,
WhatsApp
okay.
For the whole
interesting.
house.
WhatsApp, WhatsApp seems to be. I get lots of component suppliers and other advertisers wanting to chat on bloody WeChat.
Yeah, it's like very universal kind of throughout the world. So yeah. Okay, I'm seeing it now. This is it's parts per billion for formaldehyde, which is
parts per billion. But there's a thing up the top that's volume. You can change it to mass. So there's a little button up the top, so you can change it to mass, and the parts per billion becomes micrograms per cubic meter. So 50 microgram, average of 64 micrograms per cubic meter.
The voltage? Why is the voltage at 380? What is that?
That's the tube. That is the radiation tube.
Interesting.
Yes, you need the high voltage for the radiation tube.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's like a boost in there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so these spikes every time I open the door. So you can see that I've exited twice today. I went to the post office and then I went to the shop. Yeah.
That is interesting. Like, it's like, people are like, I don't need to encrypt my data. Like, what does it matter? But like literally you can have you can like back calculate occupancy from that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
This sort of data.
Yeah.
Like it's wild.
Yeah. People can actually view this live. It's public. People can view my public
Oh, there
thing,
you go. Well, maybe you shouldn't make it public if
whatever.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Do you know why there's so many sensors available now that do VOCs?
No. Do tell.
Actually, because of the FEMA trailers after Hurricane Katrina, they like discovered that they had like ridiculous amounts of formaldehyde in the FEMA trailers, like the temporary shelters after this big hurricane in the US.
Oh, right.
And then after that, there's like a bunch of regulations obviously about it because like people got really sick from it. But then
really?
Then there was all these sensor makers that now they're like very, very affordable, which is ultimately a good thing in terms of like more sensors is better in my mind. But yeah, that's actually whenever I talk to like folks at like Sincerian and stuff, that's where a lot of that came from, which is interesting.
Wow. There you go. Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah. So my VOCs spiked when I came in today, but spiked by like, I don't know, like, cause there's like a scale. I don't know what the scale is, and it's in ohms, which is a curious scale. And I had to look up what ohms was in relation to VOCs. It's some new thing that started in 2013 or something. Some researchers developed this new method for low-cost sensors for doing VOC, and that's probably what you're talking about. And they all now measure it in ohms.
It's like gas resistivity, I think is what they call it. Like I know it mostly just from like a lot of these sensors are like they have drivers built into Zephyr, so like I'll use them. And like I'm almost always using like temperature, press, humidity. Like those are very grokkable, I feel like. Yes. And then VOC is like kind of like an add-in, or like gas resistivity is an add-in. I'm like, oh, look, it's changing. No idea. There's no way for me to correlate it. I don't have any controlled experiments, controlled chambers, anything like that. So I'm just like, oh, look, another reading, So,
right.
But yeah, like the BME 680 has, I think, CO2, VOC.
Mine, I think mine is mine is that one. My monitor
It's
uses
very
that
common.
sensor,
That's like a
Bosch
sensor
sensor.
tech.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very common. So
Right.
as you were saying these, I was pretty sure it was a
Yep.
680.
I'm pretty sure.
But then
it's a
like radiation
680.
separate, the PM 2.5, that's the one I use for that is the Sensirion has one where it's like a little fan, it's like a little square box.
Yeah, and it has a little fan
interface.
that pushes air through it or whatever.
That's right. And then it's actually
Yeah.
a laser that goes through
Yes, a laser
reflect off the
detects
particles.
whether or not there's particles in the air. Yeah, it bounces off them and goes to
But if you look at the interface to it, it's really weird. It's like, it's very non-standard. And then, my main thing is like it's 5 volts as well because like they need a little bit more power to, power a laser. Fire the laser! And so, yeah, it's not my favorite to work with, but there's other ones that are out there now as well. So if you're doing a little...
Right.
There's not a ton of differentiation at the end of the day. It's like,
no,
air quality,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Cool.
Yeah. That's neat, though. This nice
if
little
you use
dashboard, too.
something like a Bosch, you know it's going to be, top tier kind of thing.
They charge you for it, that's for sure.
Do its job. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But so you can see with the humidity there, you can see my aircon switching off and on. That is why there's that sort of like choppy waveform on the humidity. That's because my aircon cycles every 5 minutes or whatnot. So, and it controls the humidity, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because air conditioners have coils that are cold, and that makes water condense out of the air.
Yep.
Bingo.
And you can see the oscillation. And you can see exactly when I came in at, 9 p.m., 9 a.m., 9 a.m. this morning, and boom, Yeah, it's interesting.
That's
but
cool.
I think the VOCs yesterday actually dropped when I came in, which was interesting. So I'm still trying to, this is why I'm actually logging this data under different scenarios so that I can see, what causes what kind of thing, hopefully.
Yeah.
That is the end result. So tomorrow will be aircon plus the Dyson filter, and then there'll be Dyson filter on its own, and, and hopefully I'll get all these different plots to try and figure out what's going on. Anyway.
Have you compared your radiation to the XKCD chart? This is like I immediately go to this. I love this.
Right.
Obviously, people are going to be surprised that Dave and I love XKCD, but
it's great.
There's a radiation dose chart that it was many years ago at this point, but I always think about it because like the amount of, let's see, so chest X-ray 20 microsieverts, sleeping next to someone is 0.05 microsieverts. Did you know that?
I guess all humans are slightly
exactly.
radiative.
Dental X-ray 5 microsieverts. Airplane flight from. I actually remember telling my dad about this because my dad used to fly all the time. So he would just like being up in the air a lot.
No, that's a big
get
deal.
More radiation.
I think there's some sort of, I don't know if it's enforced, but for like long haul airline pilot flights, airline pilots who do the long haul stuff and stay up for 13 hours a day, then there is some dose they get tested or something or something. There's some
they wear a
medical
badge or
thing.
something.
Something. I don't know, something like that. But it's actually, like over the single trip, it's not a big deal. But if you're doing that every second day,
right, career,
right, that's hundreds of trips a year. And you're spending,
Plus, cosmic radiation might make one of your brain bits flip, right? So then
right,
stuff.
yes, and you might crash, deliberately, Yep, go nutso. And
up is down, left is right.
Dose from spending an hour on the grounds at the Chernobyl plant in 2010.
It's just interesting, like just the scale difference, right? It's always like scales. So that's, and then one note down at the bottom, using a cell phone, the transmitter does not produce ionizing radiation, does not cause cancer, unless it's banana phone.
Right. Yep. I tried to measure a banana. I tried to measure a bunch of bananas. I can't measure anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
You one of those uranium
apparently,
plates.
you need like 100 bananas before your average radiation detector will even start to change.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Beeping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I remember when Jeff would bring. This is Jeff Kaiser, of course,
yes.
the mightiest of them. He would bring he had like uranium plates and stuff when he was doing demos.
Yeah.
And so like things that are like actually slightly radioactive,
Right.
but like the fun amount,
Yeah.
There was one, I think he had one that had like a glow, like radium, like clock or watch hand Like they used to make the glow in the dark
the
one.
old radium watch hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are cool. Baby amounts of radiation.
Let's bring back the radium.
It's easy. It's even easier if you glow in the dark, then you don't have to worry about your watch, hand glowing in the dark.
All right.
Just collect the natural glow off your skin.
Oh boy,
your skin is radiant, Dave. You're positively glowing.
Have you seen the TV show Fallout? Based on
I
the
heard
game?
it's really good though.
Oh, it's great. I love Fallout.
I never played the game either. So friends who
Right,
played the
I
game
haven't actually played the game, but I'm kind of into that sort of thing. The post-apocalyptic stuff, I'm kind of into that.
Right.
So, no, it's great. Fallout is terrific. Unfortunately, they actually released the whole thing at once. They just dumped the whole 20 episodes or whatever at once.
Don't baby drip it out to me. I don't need that. I'm an adult. I can binge watch a season if I want to.
You can binge watch it if you want to. Yeah. Anyway, I think I'm pretty sure there's going to be a season 2. So
I'm sure.
Anyway, it's great. Highly recommended. Cool. Fallout.
Well, speaking of Fallout, here's a segue. The tariffs dropped this morning. So we were recording on Monday, May 12th, and we are still here in the U.S. We're still dealing with the fallout of ridiculous tariffs, and they dropped from. So both China and the U.S. agreed to drop them 110%, I believe, 115% rather, because the U.S. went from 145 down to 30, and China's tariff on U.S. stuff going to China went from 125 down to 10.
Told you.
So, of course, I didn't doubt you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
As I said last time, it's stupid, it's unnecessary, and I don't think really anything was achieved here other than
I think you'd be surprised at what was achieved by this.
Okay, I'll wait to be surprised. Well, here's what I'll see.
A lot of diplomacy was achieved by this. A lot of Anyway,
I don't agree with that.
We would have to go into politics.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out. I
tell you what, there's a lot of bloody manufacturing coming back to the US, that's for sure.
I don't.
There's announcements galore. Companies investing insane amounts in the US.
Well, there was that ridiculous AI data center thing, which I'll believe that when I see it.
What was it called? What was the name of that bloody thing?
Yeah, like Magneto, or it's some very
futuristic, something. I can't remember the name of it. But they didn't have the money, but they announced it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
What did you hear that's actually coming back to the US? I don't actually think I've seen anything.
All the semiconductor companies are coming. All of the lots of AI stuff is coming back. Lots of lots of car manufacturing is coming back to the US. I'm talking like a dozen companies, all of your big names are coming back to the US. Opening plants and stuff. They've all announced it. I'm hearing tons of every day. I'm hearing like dozens of big companies coming back to the US. I couldn't point you to a single source. I couldn't point you to a single news source for this. But I just hear it all the time.
So I've been looking this up and trying to validate Dave's claims as fact checker Chris. Yes, I do exist sometimes. There's some. Dave is correct on some of this stuff. Definitely not dozens, but, hyperbole. I do think they're all dealing with this stuff. Let's see. I don't, I will believe it when I see it. I think, in terms of, supply chain, so, automotive supply chain is actually, North American, right? Tons of, auto blocks, machine, engine blocks are made, up in Canada, and the wiring harnesses are down in Mexico, and it's just all up and down North America.
Oh yeah.
So maybe some of that will cross the border, maybe, but I doubt it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway, that's what I've been hearing, and I heard that DigiKey. I didn't look into the details, but I heard that DigiKey did a direct deal with the government somehow, and they got special treatment somehow. I'm gonna
need some links on these things. I don't think.
DigiKey tariff. Yeah,
So last week, when Colin was on the show, he was talking about Mauser had a kind of an exclusionary zone within their warehouse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh right. Yes. Right. So they just physically separate.
People, for Canadian stuff that was going up to Canada, wouldn't wouldn't get kind of the pass-through sort of thing.
Right. So if somebody comes around and audits you can go, no, look, this is all separate, yada, yada. Is that the...
Here's what I'll say. I have seen a lot of people paying 145% on their PCBs. That's been a lot of people posting that. I have held off personally on buying PCBs. I'm at 30%. I'm like, okay, maybe I will now. I have some stuff that I need to be building. Yeah, I don't think anything is... I'm like you said, maybe stuff is yet to be announced and actually achieved. I don't think so personally. I think there's really no leverage points here, right? There's not like... I still can't buy capacitors that are manufactured in the U.S. And they're not coming back, right? I still can't buy even packaged semiconductors. Like in terms of like the global supply chain has not shifted in any appreciable way, and it shan't. And so like I'm still going to be paying.
Yeah, but it takes a long time. It takes years. You can't just suddenly spin up factories again, right?
Right, but I'm saying that there has been no actual motion in that direction, and I'm actually not sure there should be, right? Like in terms of like the amount of automation.
Want manufacturing to come back locally?
No, that's not what I said. I said I don't think the scale and like the investment required and the payoff for doing it, right? So if it's truly about jobs and truly about like, U.S. manufacturing, I'm not sure there's actually any value to having like U.S. made caps, right? Like capacitors being made here, like, okay.
Yeah, but you're not thinking fourth dimensionally. You're not thinking politically. You're not thinking about national security, things like that.
National security, maybe that. But again, like I just don't think there's actually any motion in that direction. So yeah, maybe there should be. Maybe there's stuff that is not being published
maybe
about.
it's not visible to you, but I hear about it all the time.
All possible.
I'm hearing about it every day. Volvo is announced they're going to open a manufacturing plant. BMW is going to announce their open manufacturing plant, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's I can only report what I'm hearing.
So I'm just to give a callback now to other parts of the past episodes of the show with like the CHIPS Act, right? So we had all these announcements. Like I was maybe a little unbridled in my enthusiasm about it. I should have probably been a little bit more measured, but I don't think a lot of that stuff's actually happening, right? Like the Intel is on a downward trajectory.
No, it's not.
Generally.
I mean, I spoke with Steve Sangi from Microchip, and he said, "Oh no, we were, that CHIPS Act sounded great," and then he started to look into the details of it, and it was golden handcuffs in his, I think, quote. It was golden handcuffs, so he didn't want the golden handcuffs, so they politely declined the funding for the CHIPS Act.
I don't even think. I mean, yes, Steve made a decision on that side of things, but I think even the ones that were announced, the ones that like were ready to break ground, like all of this excitement and this buildup, it's just like the amount of lead time it takes to build a fab, right? So like 2, 3, 4 years down the line, like are they actually getting built? Are they actually getting finished? Are they actually producing stuff? Are they, if the promise is there for jobs, are there actual jobs?
You would have to spend weeks researching this in detail to try and find out what's happening where,
Oh, sure. I just think is there actually outcome, right? I think that's what it comes down to. Is there actually outcome in a long-term context? It's like, CHIPS Act on one end in terms of like trying to drive.
We'll find out in 5 years, right?
Right.
Because
like
you can't possibly know anything now. So, you know.
Exactly. Right. I'm just saying that CHIPS Act was like a move towards like trying to drive domestic chip production. And I was cheering that. I think that's an actual yes, strings attached, but like investment in domestic production. Like I think that's the thing that I think will actually move the needle. I think you have to like incentivize, co-invest, whatever. Like, you guys put in this much, we'll put in that much, and trying to drive that sort of thing. Now in more of a punitive measure of like, you better come back or else everybody's going to be, paying tariffs. Like, okay, that's another method, right? I personally don't agree with it. I don't think it's going to be effective. I don't think it's, and much in the same way of like Volvo saying they're coming back, like that sounds great, but like, is it actually going to like 5 years down the line? Are they making Volvo cars here? Sure.
No
maybe.
Point arguing over now. Wait 5 years and see what happens.
Yeah, totally. I'm just saying, because we're talking in the current time, in the current context of all this stuff. To me, it feels like the punitive, like, I don't think it's actually driving anything. And I feel like, so my prediction is ultimately it's just going to kind of peter out eventually over time. It'll return to steady state. We'll either get used to the tariffs or we'll, I don't think it's going to be like, wow, that was the turning point, and American manufacturing came back after that. Look at that chip plant down the street. Look at that capacitor plant next state over, right? I just don't think that's going to happen. And obviously the CHIPS Act had the same kind of thing. It's just like, what actually drives that kind of investment? I'm not sure. I would love to know.
Well, let's find out. Chris has taken the black
Dave?
pill, folks. He's taken the black pill.
Yeah. Yes. And, and like there's a lot of unknowns. There was a really good channel that was recommended. I think it was in a Hacker News thread, but it's this guy. All he does is he just talks about shipping and logistics. Like,
oh, cool.
Sounds like a snooze fest.
No, that's fascinating.
It's really interesting. Like he's talking about like
totally.
different ports and like, actually, like let's
send
look
me a
at,
link to that. Send me a link.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
I gotta find it.
Yeah, I could watch that.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. There's a site where you can actually just look at like the shipping data or like the actual boats that are in transit.
Yep.
There it is, marine traffic. So marinetraffic.com is like this live global shipping. So like
yes, I've been to
when
that.
Stuff's like in the middle of the ocean, you only get I think satellite data. You have to pay like extra for that to know.
But if it's going through the Suez Canal or something, you can track it.
Right. If it's getting like cellular links because it's near the shore, then it's like it has to report data, and there's like beacons and buoys and stuff like that. So super cool site. And then this guy, I forget what his name is, but I'll send it through.
Cool.
Sometime. So he's very popular right now. I think he's.
Booming his popularity for this channel.
I think so.
That's great.
I mean, like
that's great.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
For him.
Yep. Totally.
What you have to do is just be really interested in shipping for your whole life, and then sometimes it really pays off.
Oh boy. Yep. Yeah. All right. What else we got?
Well, I can tell you about Bluetooth stuff I've been doing. That's if you're interested.
Bluetooth's pretty. I've been doing Bluetooth stuff too.
Yeah, what have you been doing?
So, the new Bryman BM787 meter is it has the Bluetooth thing in it, and I got a couple of data dropouts happening and stuff like that. So we're trying to get to the bottom of that. And another guy on the forum, he's also got a YouTube channel. He's actually testing it as well, because Bryman sent him a pre-release version of this meter as well. And, we're both trying to test it, and he's going to town on it, trying to, buying different versions of phones to test out different drivers, and he's trying to update the firmware in the module, the Bluetooth module in there and stuff like that, and trying to figure it all out. And it's like, because I set up data logging for like an hour and a half or something, and I was getting like 3 dropouts in that time, but they weren't dropouts. Like, I don't mind dropouts, right? Data dropouts in terms of like, okay, the value goes to 0 or goes to, like just null value or something like that. It's fine. But it actually jumped from 1 volt, like I was actually measuring a 1 volt source, fixed 1 volt, and it jumped up to 10 volts. And it's like, what? In like that, and I was only on the 6 volt range, so that value is like not only
invalid.
over range, but it's an actual value. Like, no, I don't want that. If there's a genuine dropout, like, tell me it's a dropout. Put none or something.
How are you? So you're just like looking at a chart for all this stuff? Like, how are you actually?
A chart, and then you can download, the CSV data, and then I load that in, and I can see the individual values. And it's like, when I download, I put it in first, like, and there's this value jumping up to 10 volts. Like, what the hell? And it's like, so it's doing something weird. So we don't know if that's related to the Bluetooth module itself. We don't know if it's related to the Android phone.
How would the Bluetooth module do that?
I don't know.
It's not sending like a bogus value, is it?
Well, I don't know. It's just one of the things in the chain, right? So you have to rule out the, it doesn't seem to be the meter, because there's no way that the meter could physically change ranges from 6 volts to 60 volts within one sample and then change back. So that doesn't happen, right? So you can pretty much rule out that. But then you've got the receiver. So you've got the Android receiver. Which version of Android is it running? Which version of Bluetooth driver is it running? And then, what version is running in the Bluetooth module, and how they're compatible or incompatible, and, blah, blah, blah. So, it's kind of annoying, and we haven't figured it out yet. So, yep. Bluetooth sucks. And that's why I just released video, have you ever used the a free program called Test Controller? Test Controller. It's a guy on the forum wrote it like during COVID, like 4 years ago or something, and now it supports hundreds of different types of multimeters, power supplies, loads and things like that, and you can automate them all. And he's got this free software that actually, logs data, and you can control all these instruments, and you can script it and everything else, and it's fantastic. So I just released a video on that the other day.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah,
it's very cool. Yeah, test controller.
The interface that looks
Java.
old.
Yeah, Java. Yeah, it's written in Java.
Oh, yeah, there's a little Java logo in the upper left. Oh, right.
Oh, is
but
it?
Who cares?
Okay,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, because that means
silly.
it's cross-platform. You can run it on anything. So yeah, I'm thinking about ditching for my microscope PC. I'm thinking about ditching my NI, combined scope multimeter thing, power supply thing, and actually hooking up multiple instruments like this to a dedicated PC, running this software, and then outputs, instead of going to a monitor, that would go into the input to my video switcher, and then I can, overlay that sort of stuff on the screen. So I can overlay the multimeter result on the screen and the power supply and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about maybe doing that. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway.
And what is the actual interface to the machine? Is it like GPIB or HPIB?
It's a serial. So anything UART based. Unfortunately, he hasn't done any Bluetooth interfaces yet because they're tricky somehow. So, yep. Okay. But anything anything ultimately resolves, you can do Bluetooth meters and other instruments, but only if they resolve down to a UART serial port.
So it's like a parser, kind of like parses the serial output.
It actually passes the serial output and then logs it and can control hundreds of different instruments. He supports the actual support is just insane. So, it's very cool. It isn't open source, unfortunately, but it is free. And what are you going to do with Java program, Dave? I mean, come on. I don't know. If he gets hit by a bus, then somebody else can take it over, right?
Sure.
Yep. And you can actually write your own driver. So if you've got a product that has a serial interface, you can write your own little script text file and actually have the commands in there and what it does and stuff, and you can add your own products.
I was thinking about your not defunct, but your project. I guess your STM32 was for the micro supply, or for
STM32. Yes, that was for the micro supply. Yes.
I was thinking about that for vibe coding stuff, right? You guys were gonna release all that code, and then you kind of put it aside. I was like, I wonder if Dave could vibe code that thing. I don't know if you've done much vibe coding.
We did release the source code donkeys years ago for that. All of the source code for the micro supply
I thought you haven't modified
is on my
it much,
GitHub.
Though.
Oh no!
I just thought you.
No, it hasn't been changed.
I meant you
years.
could extend it. You could vibe code it, man.
Vibe code it, really. I've got a video before David 2 left. We recorded a video of how to set up all the tools required to compile the micro supply code. I can link you the video. It's about an hour long or something like that. The number of tools and software things that we have to install just so that we can compile this STM32 code, just so we can compile the code. It is not just install the STM32 software. What's that called? They've got the
Cube,
Cube or no, it's not just installing that. You have to install, half a dozen different things to make it all work or something. And it's just, it's complicated. It's complicated. So, oops. So that's why I have not expanded on that, because it's just, wow. The amount of effort I'd have to go to get up and running just to recompile the code, let alone change it. Is enormous.
I have been vibe coding, but not C, like STM32 in C or anything like that. I've been doing a location service where it's all, I don't even know what it's written in. I think it's Vue.js. It's like a front end type thing, and then it's
you will have to explain vibe coding for those playing.
Vibe coding is like letting the AI do the coding for you, and so basically you're acting like a product manager,
Yep.
and you're just, here's what I want, here's how I wanted to specify it, here's what's working, here's what's not, whatever. And it's it's been limited attempts on my part, but it's been very interesting, like especially watching it go. I don't know if have you done any of this stuff or no?
Yes,
I don't know
I've actually done videos on coding using AI. Yep. Oh, someone's at the door. Hang on.
It's the robots. They're coming to get him. David, your AI bill is due.
I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dude, you're not going to believe what just turned up. Anyway, we can talk about it at the
I
end.
was actually
Vibe
just talking
coding.
to the audience saying that I thought it was the AI, it was the robots coming to get you and saying your AI bill is due.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would, speaking of coding, I would definitely do AI coding for my next project. Why? Because I do so little coding now, I literally have to relearn how to code every time I want to start a new project. And that just, I can do it. It's no problem, but why?
I think it's good for,
and it's just simpler. It's just get something up and
prototype.
running. Yeah, I just want something up and running.
Get a prototype going.
Like I'm thinking about doing the timer, the little
your little bomb
desktop timer thing, which would just have a simple micro and LCD, and so I just write me some code that just does some timery things and displays the time on the LCD, and it has to generate fonts and stuff like that. So that kind of annoying stuff of generating fonts for the dot matrix LCD and things like that. Just handle all that for me.
Anything that's like been done many times before too, like there's a lot of code kind of like that's already been indexed by these engines, and like that's going to be right over the plate for it. That's going to be really good. For mine, I am doing nothing fancy, but what I wanted to do is I'm sharing. I have like a little cellular device that I've been working on that can like publish location, and then so I was going to take it to a meetup. Right, I have a meetup coming up, which might actually, this episode might go out. I've scheduled it far enough out, Dave. This episode might go out in time. People might hear it. It's on May 20th in between Raleigh and Durham. So I will link it. I will link in the meetup that people might be able to go to. So if you know anybody in the area, I want to meet them. Anyways, cool. We're going to this new spot, and it's like this big open area. And I was like, how do you get a bunch of people to find you?
Right.
It's like, I work on cellular things. Fine, I can like publish my location. But then I started thinking, like, wouldn't it be really cool to be able to like see me publishing my location? Okay, fine, but that's not actually that useful. What's useful is if you are looking at this map, and then you know how like when you click on like Google Maps, it says like share your location.
Yes.
Well, I vibe coded this app where like it's a public map page, but then it asks you to share your location, and it'll drop your location onto a shared, like a public map, basically, without it being like, it's not like I'm Chris Gamble and here's all my information. It's literally I just put in whatever name I want it to be, and then you could keep updating it over time. And so like then you kind of have like a central beacon, and then a bunch of, I'm sure there's like services that do this, but I came up with an idea to vibe code
you
something.
could do this if you're at a large trade show or something like that. You can go, where is Joe Blogs? Oh, he's over in the bottom, over the corner over there. I can see him on my map.
Yeah, exactly. And then everybody can like hit update as they go, and it's really just a push, right? It's just like me as a viewer. I want to, I'm in the can. I don't want to update, right? I don't want to be like live updating.
You don't want to update,
but I'm out of the can, and I'm like, okay, now I'm in the food court. Bam! I say I'm in the food court.
Bam! Someone please come and talk to me. I'm lonely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. It's local on my computer, but it works on my computer, which is like, and like watching how it works. So I had been using Klein, which is like a VS Code plugin that like uses a bunch of different API services, and then I bought some cloud credits, and watching it work is like it's friggin' trippy. I'd obviously done some like code checking, copy paste whatever, but like when it can modify your files and like it's asking permission to like use your browser, I'm like oh and then it's like, can I have your credit card number, can I give me your social security number? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, like seeing it all change and do it live is very wild. Very wild.
You just mentioned the most dystopian. You just blurted out the most dystopian thing I've ever heard there, I think. You said, I purchased some cloud credits.
I said Claude credits.
Claude?
Claude is
I thought you said cloud. Process. Oh, okay. That came through my little itty bitty headphones.
I hate to break it to you. I've been buying cloud credits for a long time.
Cloud credits. It's like, oh god. What?
That'll be
Claude
35 credits,
right?
please. Yeah, Claude
Yes.
credits. But it's not that far off, to be honest. It's it's just somebody else's computer, right? So
Yeah, right. Yes.
yeah, it's it's the times we're living in, and what I really
Sad.
wonder about in all this stuff, right? It's neither good nor bad. It just is, right? It just is.
It just is.
How we
You
live
just
now.
got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You can
just
choose to
wonder.
You can choose to opt out of life. Opt out of society.
Sure,
If you
yes,
want.
of course, but
You know.
but we work in technology, right? Like,
Yep.
and technology marches on, and we can choose whether or not to keep up with it, right? And this is just a new thing that's come up, and fine. Like, I don't think that a job is going to ask, do you know how to interact with an LLM and use some AI coding tool. I don't think that'll ever be part of a job interview. Maybe quite the opposite, actually. However, I do think that there is going to be.
I think that's happening 100,000 times a day right now.
I don't think for me, Dave. I don't think any job that I could get.
Right.
Yeah. But I do think there's expectations about like how wide and varied your responsibilities are. I think just people are asked to do more with less, right? There's lots of cuts happening all over the world. That's fine, whatever. And just there's, people have to do more with less. A lot of times, AI is filling in the gap. And it's like, okay, well, there are going to be people out there that are effectively using these tools. Like watching some of the creator channels that are out there are amazing. Like really to watch people do interesting things with this stuff. There are people that are using it in very novel ways. And so then you could choose whether or not to keep up with it. But I do think it is a new kind of arena to play in and a new skill set and like basically broadening my horizons of like, oh, look, I'll just say stand up a prototype of a front end map site. I didn't write it. I don't take any credit for it, but it's just like, that's the thing that I have some capability in now. I'm like, oh, okay. That is useful. That is, in terms of like being a prototyper. Yeah, that's useful. So, it's the times we live in. I don't know where I'm going with this other than I do think it's worth learning and like dipping a toe in. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, totally. That's why I've done videos on it. I did videos on that 2 years ago.
I think 2 years ago was very different than
Oh yeah,
now.
no,
I think,
it's totally different now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yep. Yeah. So yes, is the answer to that. I would vibe code my next project, and I wouldn't have a problem with it because it's just yet another tool.
It's just another tool.
It's just another tool to use to get my end product done.
Colin and I talked about it a little bit on the last show of like, so he's interacting with a lot of students and just like what does that look like, right? And I think I'm not worried about like the kids these days. Generally, I'm not worried about like whether or not they'll figure it out. I do worry about like general like opportunities to like learn. I think and like opportunities to learn like good methods for troubleshooting because I think troubleshooting is the main skill that we all need to have. Like
right.
Same as it ever was, but like especially with like all this kind of AI garbage that's coming out, like the humans are still there to like say that looks right or that doesn't look right. And so how do we learn that stuff? And I feel like if you're coming up and out of university or other learning programs, just like how do you tell whether something's working properly when you maybe you can't afford to have a mentor because of they're so busy doing their own things or there's no entry level jobs. Like that's what I'm kind of worried about generally in this arena is just
right.
How do we get it so that people aren't just clicking buttons over and over and over again? How do they actually have thoughtful design processes if they are co-designing?
Nah.
Not worried about it, huh, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I'll take care of the youths. You keep.
You're right.
All right. You be the grumpy old guy, and I'll be the helpful person thinking about this stuff. No, you'll help people too.
Of course. I always do.
Grumpy old guy also teaches, but different ways.
I just sent you a link to what I got. What just turned up? The FedEx man just delivered.
Oh, what did we get? Let's see.
I sent you a link.
Ooh. Will I talk about it or not?
The coolest bit of equipment in this lab by far, and I've got lots of cool shit here.
This is pretty cool. Are you allowed to talk about it or no?
Yeah. Yes, it is a micro test. It is a micro test. For those who aren't aware of micro test, you can go check out their website. They manufacture specific bits of high-end test gear for like semiconductor testing and stuff like that, right? Yeah. And the cable harness. Oh yeah, I'm on the website. DC bias current source systems, right? For wafer testing or something like that, right? Transformer test systems, cable motor testing systems, right? All sorts of things. But what they make is an impedance analyzer, not just an LCR meter. None of that rubbish. This is an impedance analyzer. It's a 6632, and it can go up to 50 megahertz. I think they sent me the 10 megahertz jobby. So yeah, I've got a full impedance analyzer up to 10 megahertz. So this allows me, like, you can just use it as an LCR meter, but the whole idea is that it measures the entire frequency impedance sweep of...
We got X, we got Y, we got Z, we got R, we got B, we got L, we got D, we got Q, we got DCR, C.
If you want to test the coil on your new RFID swipe board,
I would like to actually,
design, hook this thing up. You can get the entire impedance sweep of the thing. You know, your inductor, that
is cool.
If you design a PCB inductor, you can fully characterize it using this. You know, so you can do an entire impedance sweep.
Carl Bugeja he's doing his coil, the PCB coils, like the YouTuber.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes, I've seen those. Yes, those PCB motors. Yeah, this would be a perfect thing to characterize that.
Yeah.
So very specific bit of kit. And, absolutely amazing stuff. And I think really I've got a couple of tester, an SMD test adapter with it and stuff like that. So, so you can measure. So I can potentially hook this up to a board and I can show how efficient various bypass things are, right? Various bypass caps and using the ground planes as bypassing and things like that. I can find out how efficient that is. For example, efficient's not the right word. What is the performance of those bypass components, how good they are. You can measure the response of
here we go, on
frequency
the
crystals, right?
Maybe you were looking at the data sheet?
Oh, no, I was just looking at the website.
Passive components, acoustic components like vibration coils and piezos. And
there it is. Yep. They've got all these different
magnetic
fixtures.
Material.
Like you can get all these different custom fixtures for like wafer probing and, actually not just components, but you can test actual materials as well. So if you're developing, like I used to work on acoustic hydrophones, right?
Yeah,
so
right,
they used a piezo ceramic substrate, and we would use impedance analyzers like this to actually measure the physical, the large physical substrate itself.
And you guys would you be like compressing your own like piezo material and stuff like that?
Yes, we were manufacturing, baking our own piezo materials. We were doing this all.
Right. So you do that as a quality control, basically.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and also not only during the production to check that where the something in the processes hasn't sort of started to rift out or something like that, So, if you get, this glue's not working properly, your impedance is going to drift in this direction, something like that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, so you can use these for production, but you can use them for R&D design, if you're designing new benders, as we called them, underwater acoustic hydrophones.
The interesting one is the PCB, like the permittivity and stuff like that. So
the PCB permittivity, so I can measure different PCB materials.
I just always I don't know when I would get to the point where I'd be like, oh, I thought this was going to be 4.1, it's actually 4.05. Like, like... You'd have to have such a tight tolerance on your, like they have TDRs and stuff like that to do controlled impedance.
Yeah, if you want to go real high frequency, you would use.
I just always would assume that it's like, oh, I probably got the spacing wrong. Like to the point where it's like, oh, actually, no, they used the wrong laminate.
It's the spread. It's the spread in the laminate, or even the manufacturing spread. You were using the right laminate, but you just didn't know it spread that much. You just didn't know. It changes a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but if you were at an RF house, you'd be like, yeah, of course we're going to test this. Like, we need to be precise.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, you mentioned the fixturing is there. That is interesting.
All those different fixtures. You can see all the different custom fixtures.
Even still, like the probing, right? So, like, you can't just, like, stick a probe onto a...
Oh, no.
You can't just, like, have, like, a pointy probe that you stick into your PCB. You must have to have, like, very standardized, like,
you have to have a customized
short,
ridiculously short solutions, and then you'd probably do open short load compensation, so it can do stuff like that. Don't know if you've ever done open short load compensation, but
I used to have a VNA, Dave. So.
Oh, okay, right, yeah,
yeah.
There you go. ultra high measuring speed, 3 milliseconds. 3 milliseconds. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's cool.
You can measure piezoelectric element admittance circle. So if you're into admittance circles, you can get those on it. Oh my God! DC bias characteristics. So I can do a video like showing how the value of a bypass cap can change based on the DC bias voltage, right?
Yeah.
That's really fascinating stuff like that. So yeah, it's a real cool bit of kit. So very excited.
You should do one where you measure a cap, but then you like have the cap like soldered in a really tight joint. Like the what's the effect called when it's like a microphone? Like,
yes, right. The yes. It's a
do that.
Yep. Yeah.
Microphonic effect. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it's called.
I can do I can do like tons of different videos with this thing. And one of the things that the box, I just picked it up and it weighs almost nothing. It's actually 3.95 kilos. It felt like nothing because just yesterday I got delivered from eBay in China. I got a GW Instec AC power source, right? Which is a real impressive AC power source.
It's all copper.
It's all copper.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's about 25 kilos or something.
Yeah, I believe it.
It is insanely heavy.
Yeah, it doubles as a workout.
Yeah, so that's a really cool bit of kit if I can figure out how to use it. You can do you can test mains voltage.
Nice.
You can put like spikes in the mains. You can put dropouts in the mains, brownouts.
Yeah,
you can
do like power line.
You can power line sim. Yeah, you can do power line simulations. Yeah, to see how your product works if you have a mains dropout for half a second. You can. Yeah, you can.
All right, man. We'll go make some videos. This sounds cool as hell. Go do it.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, we're done, aren't we? We're way over.
We're way over.
All right, I'll go play with my toys.
Cool. Well, good videoing, sir. Good job. Good luck.
Catch you next time.